911, where's the emergency?
Actually on the Belmar Bridge heading south. There's a car that's abandoned.
This is a story about a young woman who just seemingly vanished off the face of the earth.
Hello? It's the police department. Hello? Anybody home?
Sarah Stern was a very talented artist.
And some of the stuff she did was, I just think it was fantastic.
Nobody really knew what had happened to her.
She would never leave without telling me. Never.
There's a lot of people out here trying to find this young lady, and you seem to be the last person that had any contact with her.
And in the end, it's a story about friendship gone horribly wrong.
That's what kind of sticks with me, that betrayal, and it's haunting to this day.
When Sarah disappears, her father, Michael, is on vacation in Disney World, a place where he and Sarah had gone together in the past.
3 o'clock, phone rang. We just started in a panic and just loaded the car and started driving. I was making phone calls the entire time.
He's sending text messages to Sarah, and they're getting increasingly more desperate.
And things weren't getting any better. Nobody could find out.
Is Sarah here by chance?
No.
When was the last time you talked to her?
I was with her today.
One of the people they talked to, Liam McIntasney, is the last person who saw Sarah alive.
Between 1 and 2, we went to Taco Bell.
At that time, a lot of people were thinking it was a suicide. The way the car was left on the bridge.
People jump to conclusions immediately when they start an investigation, and what happens is the tunnel vision. All the facts that support the conclusion they follow, and the ones that dispute that conclusion they disregard.
Michael Stern believes his daughter met with foul play. But if you're a police officer trying to investigate this, is that really possible? Disposing of a body on this bridge in the middle of a community?
11:30 at night, the Belmar Bridge on Route 35 might be crowded. Well, if you get the light cycle north and the light cycle south, there might be just enough time to do that and pull it off.
Over the past few months, she's been telling me, how bad her relationship with her father is, and how she just needs to get out of here.
Some people are describing a troubled relationship. She wants to get away from you.
That was very painful. And to have people repeat it was even worse. She had no reins on her. She could do and go wherever she wanted, and I would be there to support her.
Some of the witnesses are talking about a bad relationship. How bad does a relationship have to be between a father and a daughter that she would resort to faking her own death on a bridge? Neptune is a small Jersey Shore community. A lot of the families that have lived there have been there for generations. They know Sarah.
If you're gonna leave the area, why wouldn't you go take $25,000 out of the bank that you have in safe deposit? Or why would you leave your dog, who by all accounts she had an incredibly warm and loving relationship with her pet? She loved pets.
The other thing about Sarah is that she had been through a tragedy. Her mom had died of cancer. So when she goes missing, most of the community turns out to take part in this search.
I think we're just really thankful that in such a horrible and hard time that everyone is kind of pulling together.
On one hand, you're holding out hope, but on the other hand, if someone's remains are swept out of the river into the Atlantic, I mean, all bets are off on the possibility of locating those remains.
As police do the investigation, they're able to figure out what Sarah did in her last day. She apparently went with Liam to Taco Bell. They had lunch. She went to the bank. Then she went home. They're able to get surveillance video showing Sarah and kind of giving a sense of her state of mind. She's seemingly having an okay time. She doesn't look like somebody in distress.
I'm one of her closest friends, and I have no idea why she wouldn't tell me anything before she left. Like the last time I say goodbye to her, it was just like any other day.
Liam and Sarah had been friends since they were both 6 years old. Preston Taylor is Liam's roommate. He also has known Sarah all her life. In fact, he was her prom date.
They used to go to the pizzeria and stuff, and that was like a fun thing. They called themselves the squad or whatever, so.
They were in some of the same clubs in high school. They spent a lot of time together. When you listen to the interviews with Liam McAtasney, and to a lesser extent with Preston Taylor, they're not really telling the exact same story that some of the other witnesses are.
She has had a tendency to have self-destructive, suicidal behavior.
It's a particularly negative take on things.
Sarah said that her dad was freaking out.
Because they had such a close relationship and they had spent time with her right prior to when she went missing, I think that type of information at the time carried a lot of weight.
But then at the end of the interview, he comes out with this really odd question.
One thing I want to talk to you guys about was if she did jump off the bridge, what are the odds that she's not somewhere all the way out in the ocean by now?
I think at the time law enforcement took that as like just a concerned dear friend, but when you look at it in retrospect, it has all the fingerprints of him trying to conceal or cover his tracks.
That just seems like a very strange question for a friend to ask. The thing is, cops have to go on evidence. Just the fact that this seems like a suspicious comment isn't enough for them to do anything.
And it was presented as if, hey, I've got this great horror storyline, because Curry was kind of a, fancied himself as a horror movie director or a writer. And the story was, what if I, words to the effect of, what if I took Sarah and I robbed her and then we strangled her and threw her into the river?
How you doing?
I've seen a lot of hidden camera footage over the course of my career. It doesn't usually work out very well. The suspect is very cagey. This is completely different. And it starts from the minute Liam gets in the car.
Dude, you can't blame me for doing this, right?
His first step is to pat somebody down.
I gotta feel you up real quick, all right?
Why would anybody in normal life do that unless they had something to hide?
Yeah, I got the FBI on my ass, dude.
What do they question you?
Oh yeah, a lot.
About what?
About killing Sarah.
He gave himself up in that video.
I pretty much hung her, like, I picked her up and had her just, like, dangling off the ground.
To me, the most disturbing moment of that conversation is Liam saying it took 30 minutes for Sarah to die.
I got a shirt and I just shoved it down her throat so she wouldn't throw up or anything, and held my finger over her nose and set a timer.
He hit the stopwatch to see how long it would take for his friend to die.
That's not even the worst part. The worst part of it is I thought I was walking out 50 grand, 100 grand in my pocket. She had one safe and she took money out and she only had 10 grand.
We literally had the defendant explaining in great detail precisely what he did.
Did you think he showed even a shred of remorse?
Not a single shred of remorse. Almost as if he was bragging about how he carried out the murder.
All right, so you helped him lift her and throw her over the bridge?
It does not take long at all for Preston to flip on Liam.
I had my arms under her shoulders like this.
Okay. So were her feet dragging on the ground?
Yeah. Dragged her over here and kind of sat her under the bushes right here. Liam had her by the shoulders and hoisted her up onto the railing, and then I pushed her feet over so that she was going over the rest of the way.
So that really closes the circle in terms of evidence. But there's one piece of evidence police were never able to get. Despite all the searching, they were never able to find Sarah's body.
How do you prosecute a murder without finding a body?
Coming up, the case goes to court.
He erased Sarah Stern from this earth.
But with Sarah's body still missing, will prosecutors be able to get a conviction?
The physical evidence tells you it didn't happen.
When Crime Files continues. Crime Files continues with Fatal Friendship.
Day one of the Sarah Stern murder trial. Former classmate Liam McAtasney on trial facing a possible life sentence.
Sarah Stern will not be walking through those doors into this courtroom at any point. She will never send her father another text. She will never hug him or tell him she loves him.
You're going to hear that Sarah Stern wanted to leave New Jersey, that she wanted to get away, not only from her dad, but the entire state.
The prosecution has a really interesting case because on the one hand, it's incredibly strong. They have a video confession of the murder suspect. They have the accomplice testifying against him. So they have almost everything you need, but they don't have a body.
How do you prosecute a murder without finding a body? It makes it that much more difficult because now you're talking about circumstantial evidence.
So that challenge makes you make certain decisions. I think one of the approaches was to get someone who had intimate information about what happened, somebody within the conspiracy, and that was Preston Taylor.
Did he tell you anything about killing Sarah Stern?
He said that he strangled her.
Did he go into significant detail at that point in time?
He said it took a while, but she did finally die, and that he moved her down into the back bathroom.
And let's be clear, you were charged under an accusation of felony murder, correct?
Right.
Do you in any way deny that you have responsibility for what happened to Sarah Stern?
No. To have Preston testify against his former best friend, say, yeah, this is exactly how it went down, that was the piece of testimony that the prosecutors needed.
What was your purpose in being here?
To move Sarah's body too.
Okay.
I lifted her up. He grabbed her by the torso from the other side of the fence. Liam dragged her over to the car and sat her in the passenger seat while I was putting the safe in my car.
Preston lays it out. He says that he and Liam planned the crime together, that Liam killed Sarah, that he then called Preston, and they disposed of the body together. It's very strong testimony. And about all the defense can do is to try to discredit Preston personally.
What the cooperation agreement called for was truthfulness, right? Right. But you don't always tell the truth, is that correct?
I haven't in the past.
You don't have to like him to believe him. You don't have to like him to think he's credible.
And it took me a half an hour to kill her. I thought I was going to be able to choke her out and have her out in like a couple minutes. I choke her out, drag her into the back, put her in a bathroom, and then I had to go straight to work. So Preston came over, took the body, put it in the bushes.
I can't even describe the feeling I had when I heard the description of what he did to my daughter. It was just absolutely horrifying.
The defense has to deal with the fact that Liam is confessing, in his own words, on video.
You are the only person on this planet that knows, besides Preston.
So how are they going to deal with that? And what the defense attorney comes up with is Anthony Curry was a filmmaker. Maybe all of this really was just a plot for a movie.
How many times would you say that Liam gave you ideas for, or possible ideas for movies over the course of your friendship? Be more than 5?
I mean, yeah, we talked about movies all the time.
So it wasn't something that was uncommon for him to bring you ideas for movies, correct?
Yeah.
What the defense put on was it just seemed like nonsense. It just, let me make a story up today and present this and try to make it look like my client's innocent.
If Anthony Curry doesn't come forward, does Liam McAtasney walk?
It's hard to guess, but I can't overstate the weight and the value of that evidence. I think there's a good chance that we wouldn't have been able to meet our burden and prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt without that evidence.
Somebody who's being strangled for half an hour, no signs of anything broken, everything's peachy keen inside the house. The physical evidence tells you it didn't happen.
One potentially effective witness that the defense comes up with is a guy named Craig Hetzel. Hetzel says that he saw Sarah Stern hours after she supposedly had died, according to the prosecution.
There's a picture of a girl
And I said to my son, I said, that's who we saw. That's who I saw that day.
How much, if you're a prosecutor, are you worried about somebody like that who can theoretically impugn the timeline?
Obviously, I'm going to be very concerned about a witness that's going to come up there and contradict the timeline. I got to prove a case beyond a reasonable doubt to 12 jurors, and I don't want one defense witness to come on and maybe make one juror only say, you know, I'm not really sure and I believe that person.
The problem with Craig Hetzel's testimony is he also says he saw the car on the bridge, and the car had been towed hours earlier. There's also a question about the description of Sarah he gives.
The description of Sarah in heels and some kind of fur coat or something is just not. First of all, Sarah, I've seen her in heels. She couldn't walk in heels.
It didn't add up for the jury. They had already, and if I had to guess, I believe they'd made their minds up after the state rested its case, and then when the defense presented its case and they saw kind of the cockamamie theories that were raised, it just reaffirmed the decision to convict him.
How do you find as to count one of the indictment as to whether the defendant, Liam McAtasney, committed the crime of murder by purposely or knowingly causing the death of Sarah Stern? Guilty.
That's justice.
Finally.
Finally.
The justice system worked. It was never going to bring Sarah back, but it was the best they could do.
Preston could have got life too, because he was definitely accessory in planning and premeditation. But they cut a deal with him to testify, and I had to live with that.
Still ahead, the case isn't over yet.
Almost immediately, the defense files an appeal.
Every time you get a court notice, how do you bring yourself to go back to that situation that you really have never had closure from?
Will the conviction hold up? When Crime Files continues. Crime Files continues with Fatal Friendship.
Liam McAtasney is going to go to prison for the rest of his life. Preston Taylor gets 18 years. He got the plea bargain, so he gets the reduced sentence. Is this justice? I think maybe only Michael Stern can answer that.
The opportunity they had was not the opportunity Sarah had to still be here. Why they still live and breathe, Sarah's gone. She's gone forever.
Almost immediately, Liam McAtasney files an appeal. The defense argues that the jury should never have heard Liam's confession to Anthony Curry because Curry should have read him his rights. But of course, Curry is not a law enforcement officer. What did you make of that?
I thought he was grasping at straws. You know, that's the point of evidence. It was admitted to prove a point, which is he is the killer of Sarah Stern.
It takes 3 years for this appeal to wind its way through. When it's over, the judge issues a 63-page ruling, turns it all down. Do you think that maybe now it's finally over?
I think so. Yeah. It was weak to begin with, but that's justice.
I'm not sure if we'll ever know what the motive for this crime was. Liam says it was money. Sarah had found money that had belonged to her mother.
This was all because Liam saw a box of money. He wanted that money.
There's another school of thought, though, when you listen to Liam brag about the crime.
Grab her body. Dude, I had superhuman strength.
And perhaps he just wanted to experience what it was like to kill somebody.
I think it's more than money. I think it's sadistic, too.
I'm still here. It's tough sometimes. I have some very bad nightmares.
You've said that you sometimes talk to her. Does that help?
I do. It's tough, but I think about her and I ask her why. I never get an answer.
The community has found ways to try to keep Sarah's memory alive.
Now, the whole idea of today is to celebrate some art, to spend time with the community, with our friends and our family.
One of the things that the community does is hold an annual art festival in Sarah's memory, with proceeds going to pay for scholarships to art students.
It's good to see everyone coming out and everyone kind of healing, kind of through art.
Sarah's life was worth something, And I think that if she can be an inspiration to somebody else, I think that would be a good thing for her and me.
I think she would be proud, and I think she would be really happy to see that we're all still making art, because, you know, that's what she loved to do.
Mike, how are you? Appreciate you coming.
It's kind of like the only place I can come to see Sarah, her final resting place.
You feel closer to her when you're here?
I do.
How would you like Sarah to be remembered?
Well, I'd like her to be remembered as a great artist, you know, just an all-around nice person, and, you know, fun to be with. You know, we hope that we can just keep her alive with art and the media and photography. So
As long as people remember her, then she's still here.
she's still here.